Yo, people, it's been 7 years, right? 2016 Midnight Special was the last effort from Jeff Nichols, but he is back with the Bikeriders. Okay, so he writes and directs this one. It is produced by Sarah Green, Brian Kavanagh Jones, Arnon Mitchen, executive produced by Michael Schaefer, Yariv I think it's Milchin, so it's Aaron Milchin. Executive produced by Yariv Milchin, David Kern, Sam Hansen, and Fred Berger. It is associate produced by April S. Chang, Penny Lin. It's co-produced by Donald Sparks, Kerrick Pansnick, and line produced by Sophia Lynn. Music was handled by David Wingo. Adam Stone was on cinematography, while Julie Monroe edits the piece. Francine Maisler sorted out the casting. Chad Keefe, production design. Matthew Gatlin was art direction. Set decoration is Adam Willis. Costume design is Erin Banash. And our cast, well, people, we have got Austin Butler as Benny, Jodie Comer, Comer is Kathy, Johnny is Tom Hardy, Michael Shannon is Zippo, Danny is played by Mike Faist, Cal is played by Boyd Holbrook, Damon Herman plays Brucey, Waho is played by Bo Knapp, Emery Cohen plays Cockroach, Carl Glassman plays Corky, the Kid is played by Toby Wallace, Norman Rebus is Funny Sonny, Happy Anderson is Big Jack, Gary Rogue is played by Paul Sparks, our bartender is Will Oldman, Good Pastor is Nathan Neer, right? The kid's mother is played by Mirka Gerton. His dad is played by Paul Dillon. Dingy is played by Valerie Jane Parker. Paulie, Tony Dono. Henry is played by Mike Endoso. Betty, Rachel Lee Coyles. Gail, Fong Kubaki. Big Barbara is played by Aaron Schubach. Benny's cousin is played by Andrew Riley Stevens. Alice, played by Forber Shepherds. Frank David Myers Gregory. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of people. It's bikers, man. There's a load of bikers. You know what I mean? So the gist of the story is when Kathy first meets the Chicago Outlaws biker gang, she's horrified, but she finds herself swept up in a whirlwind romance with the brooding Benny, and soon the outlaws become her way of life. When a local photographer begins hanging around the gang, Kathy tells him the gang's story from her own unique perspective. But what begins as a safe space for the outsiders, presided over by the level-headed Johnny, becomes something much more sinister as the years roll by. Inspired by, and this is the crazy thing, it's inspired by a photo book, right? 1967 photo book from Danny Lyon. And I'm not quite sure if Leon did help with the script, like, as I've heard different things, but yeah, you know. that is how this thing came about, right? It's like a more hard boiled version of Sons of Anarchy, you could say. You know what I mean? And yeah, a bit more refined than the Biker Boys. Remember that film from back in the day, Lawrence Fishburne and the Man's Them, right? Now this, it looks really good. Oh my gosh, yeah, the look, the feel is really, really good, well put together, and we are kind of like shown that to be a vandal, it's something else, right? Because we've got the film opening up with Benny in a bar. We don't know it's Benny, but he's in a bar, and two guys are like, take those colors off, right? So we get into this big situation. We see some of it. The rest of it is kind of elaborated more further on into the film. Right, but this is, Kathy, she's telling us this story, right? She's in a laundromat with her friends, talking to our reporter guy. And yeah, it's like she's talking to this guy, it seems, at different stages, because there's the bits when she's first kind of in it, and then in different locations and stuff like that. But yeah, she's kind of narrating this story. So then we jump to how she first met the gang, you know and we're not necessarily getting anything new. This is a story that you know where it's going, right? You know how it's going to end. We've seen it before. Now it's interesting, I would say, how it is told at first, at first. Like because you want to know, okay, how does this gang form? Right? What's the gist, Like it kind of feels a bit like the Hells Angels. Because I've heard, I don't know. I've never been a card carrying member, people, but I heard the Angels started off as just some guys wanting to hang out, and then it just grew and grew and grew and grew, and got into all the crazy things that we've heard over the years. And that's what the Vandals seem to be, you know? And so yeah, so you're fascinated to be like, okay, how does this happen? Like, how are people so enamored that they want to join? Why? Right? Why don't they just do their own thing? So we, see all this, and we got a great cast, incredible cast. It does, though, start to feel like everyone doing their own kind of Tom Hardy Bane voice. No, it's not as bad as Bane, right? It's not, I'm Bane, I'm Batman. No, it's not as bad as that. But there is a lot of like kind of like low draws and that kind of thing. And uh, hmm, ums and ahs to, right? That whole, well, this is how, people in the lower brackets would talk and be, and so it gets like that, which it feels a little bit yeah, like a lot, right? It gets to a point where you're like, okay, because it's just under 2 hours, you know so we are doing that. But as I said, the beginning of this film I thought was pretty good, pretty good. Like as it goes on, I think there's just things that we don't seem to get, right? There's this incident with someone wanting to leave, And then, with these new people looking to join, but we don't really get discussions. And you just think there's certain incidents, and you just think, I feel the gang, like everyone, at least everyone in the room at the time, would want a discussion, right? There's a crazy situation with Kathy, which you kind of think, as firstly, it's like, wait, was that orchestrated? You know what I mean? Was that a setup? Right? And then it's just, okay, this thing happened, and we get this, this comment at the end of, oh yeah, I'm struggling, blah blah blah. But you just think, there should at least have been a larger conversation with, you know, some of the crew, right? Even if it's just the original members, but you'd think some of them. And then it's just like, well, this is the problem, man. Something, because it's not a small deal. There's something that goes down with Benny, which we see no sign of. There's no indication of this trait. So it just seems like real out of the blue. And you just be like, I can understand if you were one thing, but knowing this other stuff, you just be like, wait, would you really do that? Which is it's another thing about Kathy and her conversations with the photographer, because there's something she says earlier about crying, and then so you just be like, okay, so yeah, these conversations are different stages. So yeah, there's just things that go down that you are kind of like, because no other women are really that prominent. It's not like we don't see other female members, wives and girlfriends or people in the gang, but they're not really that larger part. And again, you'd think Kathy would be talking more to them. It's like in Goodfellas, right? When I can't remember her name, right? But when the wife, girlfriend, wife, we see her with her friends and that kind of thing, and they're telling her stuff and they're doing things, and you'd think there'd be more of that, right? So we get this story. But as it goes on, you feel there are these other components, these other parts that we're lacking. So I just think it then just takes away from the remainder of the film. Because as I said, where it's going, right? I don't think anyone's going to be shocked of where it goes. I think you will be, again, questioning the ramifications and the actions from everything. But yeah, it just, I don't know. It didn't feel as interesting, the last part. Now, that's just me, because I mean, I'm not a huge Sons of Anarchy fan, right? And so many people are. So I think, there is going to be a load of people who will love this, right? And, these comments are just about my thoughts on the story. The filmmaking, right? The costumes, the lighting, the cinematography, right? The music, just all of those elements, right? The film itself, the production itself is great, right? And other than sometimes some of the voices, right? The accents and all of that, the acting is very good. The acting is very good. So it's just like, Right? I don't know, man. Like, I thought it's good. I didn't love it. Right? So, but people, you can have your own, you know, thoughts on this, because if you missed it today at the Royal Festival Hall, don't worry. Friday the 6th, tomorrow, it will be playing at 11:15 a.m. at the Royal Festival Hall. And then on Monday the 9th, it's 12:10, right, at the South Bank Centre in the big screen, NFT1. So yeah, there should be spaces, hopefully. Yeah, and look, if you go look at tickets and they're sold out, go back, because there are always returns. There's always returns, people. You know, all the screenings will have audio description. Fridays will have descriptive subtitles. So yeah, the new Jeff Nichols film, people, the Bikeriders.